Aljamain Sterling just went on his podcast and spewed a bunch of anti-Dagestani talking points to justify Umar Nurmagomedov not getting the next title shot against Aljamain Sterling's friend and training partner and current bantamweight champion, Merab Dvalishvili. Now, we're going to take a look at a bunch of different clips from this podcast. I sat through almost the entire thing, but man, it's just getting embarrassing. It's getting humiliating. And I would never sit here and say that Merab is scared of Umar Nurmagomedov. You know, that's something I really don't typically say, you know. But after watching this podcast, I'm convinced that Merab may be scared of Umar Nurmagomedov. I'm not kidding. And it's very, very clear that Merab does not want to fight Umar. And they have a master plan to try to avoid Umar Nurmagomedov. And Aljamain Sterling exposes all of it here. And it's clear their entire camp is cohesive in pushing a certain narrative, an anti-Dagestani narrative, to try to avoid fighting Umar Nurmagomedov, try to avoid Merab having to defend his title against Umar Nurmagomedov. And it's so embarrassing because he's regurgitating the same old tired anti-Dagestani talking points. And what's funny is the MMA community was regurgitating false lies about Aljo and Merab for literally years. I've defended them on this very channel. And now Aljo's trying to use that same fan base against Umar Nurmagomedov. And quite frankly, it's just embarrassing and humiliating. And the two yes men that are sitting next to him, I mean, it couldn't be more obvious. It couldn't be more obvious that they are trying to campaign for what they believe is a much easier matchup for Merab Dvalishvili rather than having to take on a deserving #1 contender in Umar Nurmagomedov. And the stuff they say, it's just, I mean, you literally have to hear it to believe it. They act like Umar Nurmagomedov never fights and that he's been being paid by some, you know, Saudi oil prince. Somehow he's on that payroll and that's why he never fights, even though that's not necessarily true. He acts like the Dagestanis get a bunch of privileges, which I've broken it down so many times. That just couldn't be further from the truth. It makes absolutely no sense. But we'll get to that in a second. Let's start off with him basically hyping up Petr Yan and saying Petr Yan is the next deserving contender. And even talking about Figgy should have gotten a title shot, maybe even before the Yan fight, because they so desperately don't want to fight Umar Nurmagomedov. It's crazy. Listen to this.
We'll get into that. But he beat Song, very dangerous guy. Then he beat a guy who's on a 3-fight win streak, who's also a former champion. And just on merit, former champion, I don't know. I just think like the name value thing, it gets weird when it's a name value, it's cool, but if you have merit, then I think that goes much longer of a way. It's like I came to this division, yeah, I might not be the most exciting guy, but I got more of a decorated career so far compared to more than half the top 10.
So he's crying he didn't get enough privilege at 145. That's what he's crying about here. But he's campaigning for Petr Yan to get the title shot. And by the way, if you don't believe this is a concerted effort, this is a cohesive effort by Merab's team, I mean, you can look at recent posts from Merab. Let's effing go. Petr Yan, March 8th, UFC 313, T-Mobile, Las Vegas. I've defended Merab. This dude is actively campaigning to fight Petr Yan because he knows he already beat him and he believes he's an easier matchup. Here's another post. Similar message. We'll even listen to a little bit of it. It's only 20 seconds long.
Great fight, Peter. I like your call out and I like your respect. Let's go again after 2 years. March 8th.
And we don't even need to listen to the rest of it. He puts March 8th over the poster because they fought in 2023, March of 2023. And it's just so clear that the entire team is like, Umar's a much tougher challenge than Petr Yan. Let's try to campaign for the Petr Yan rematch. But let's continue listening to Aljamain Sterling because in a little bit, it gets really delusional and really dumb to the point he's like, yeah, I mean, Ramadan, who cares about Ramadan? This is America. This is America. Like acting like the UFC is not a worldwide country and acting like Ramadan isn't just 1 month out of the year. Because we already know their master plan, but we'll get to that in a minute. If you don't already know that, based on Merab's post, you're going to find out here shortly.
Yeah. Of 145. So it's like, I'm not getting no handouts. And I'm not saying, oh, I know some people are going to say, oh, but your fight more exciting. And okay, cool.
So he's crying because he's a former champion and he's not getting handouts at 145. I mean, every time Aljo opens his mouth, he puts his foot in it. I swear. And you know what's funny? He actually screwed over Merab in a way, because when he lost to Sean O'Malley, had he got on the mic in the post-fight interview and said, let my teammate Merab get my revenge, we probably would have never got Sean O'Malley versus Marlon Chito Vera. The UFC may have very well had to push for the Merab fight. But instead, he beforehand said, win or lose, I'm going up to 45. And then after he lost, he's like, no, I want the rematch. UFC was never going to rematch. Aljo will never fight for a title. It doesn't matter if he wins 12 fights straight. He'll never fight for a title again because the UFC hates him, because he says just perpetually dumb shit over and over and over again. And I've taken Aljo's side so many times. But this is just, the stuff that you're going to see in this video is just quite frankly annoying, and it's just nonsense. And both of these guys, I don't know the name of this guy. I'm assuming he's like a training partner. This guy's Dennis Bazooka, I believe is how you pronounce his name. Nothing but yes men. Nothing but yes men. And it's just embarrassing, man.
I understand that. But at the same time, what has Umar done other than beat Sandhagen? That was the one rank. That's the only thing. I'm not saying Umar's not good. Umar's he's skilled. He's a dog.
What has he done? He beat Umar. Umar beat Corey Sandhagen, who was ranked like number 2 at the time. He dominated him. And on top of that, Umar's 18-0. He's undefeated. He's fought some decent opponents prior to that. Hani Barcelos, Nate Maness. It's not like he's fighting straight up scrubs. I understand they aren't the cream of the crop, but let's be real. Does anyone not think Umar beats, Marlon Vera? Does anyone not think that Umar beats, Rob Font? I mean, it's pretty clear. And nobody wanted to fight him. People were turning him down. So he got to jump up the queue and fought Corey Sandhagen and dominated him to earn a title shot. But let's carry on to more nonsense.
I don't even know if he's a dog yet, to be honest, because he hasn't really gotten to a dog fight, right?
I mean, he got dropped by the Kazakh kid.
Yeah, he had to tough it out, but he didn't get into a dog fight. Like, he wrestled him down to death, and that was it. Pat Felicia resistance, he won.
By the way, this is the dumbest criticism of any fighter. Yeah, they haven't been in a dog fight yet. Haven't been in a dog fight. Like, okay, he's been in 18 fights. He's dominated every single one of them, damn near. And now you want to criticize him? It's like Hamzat's cardio criticism. Oh, man, he's tired in the 3rd round. Well, he's never fought a 5-round fight, and he's putting out a crazy high output. It's just a nonsense criticism. But it's just a way to try to diminish him as a contender. If he's so easy, he doesn't have that dog in him, why not let Merab fight him? Maybe Merab will expose him badly. But makes no sense.
Control the fight after being dropped, but still, he only beat one guy. So my point, I just feel like maybe there's now if Figgy won, I feel like there's no argument that Figgy couldn't have gotten the title shot, but he didn't look that great against Yan, like, at all. And then I think he tried the Merab and Aljo blueprint, and it just didn't work out.
Yeah.
So first off, that tells me right down there, had Figgy won against Petr Yan, they would have been screaming from the rooftops for Davis and Figueiredo. They'd be like, no, not Umar. Figgy. Figgy, 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 Figgy. That's what they would have been begging for, that Figgy title defense. It's so obvious that they believe Petr Yan is an easier matchup, which why wouldn't they believe it? And Aljo almost says it here shortly. You're going to see it in a second. But Merab already beat Petr Yan not that long ago. Not that long ago. I mean, you can look at Merab's resume. Literally 3 fights ago. March of 2023. He dominated Petr Yan. Unfortunate as that is, he dominated him. So now he wants a rematch against Petr Yan because Petr Yan has since won 2 fights. Song Yadong and Davison Figueiredo. Don't get me wrong, Petr Yan's getting close to the title discussion, especially considering I don't think he lost to Aljamain Sterling in the first place. He definitely didn't lose to Sean O'Malley. It was a brutal robbery. And then his only real losses against Merab. So I understand that Yan's up there, but to campaign for it because Merab already beat him is just humiliating. And it's clearly they're all on the same page. It's so clear. Now we're going to skip ahead a little bit here because, I mean, there's just so much nonsense to get to. By the way, I watched about an hour and 10 minutes of this. This is an hour and 27-minute podcast on Aljamain Sterling's YouTube channel. I'll link it down in the description if you care to go check it out. Boy, was this a tough watch, boys. Boy, was this a tough watch. So if you guys can do me a favor, like the video, subscribe to the channel. I would greatly appreciate it. He hypes up Figgy potentially fighting for the belt if he hadn't fought Yan. And also just hyping up Yan's win. And at the end of this clip, it's about a minute and a half we're going to check out here. He starts pushing those anti-Dagestani narratives. And it's so annoying because it's just so stupid.
It was a great performance by Yan. And also, even before that fight, there was an argument for Figgy to fight for the belt next too. You know, so now Yan beating him in that fashion, I think it adds to the argument that Yan could be next.
I think that was way more dominant than Umar's performance over Sandhagen.
What? You guys correct me if I'm wrong, because I haven't watched Umar versus Sandhagen, since the week that it happened. Umar dominated Sandhagen more than Yan dominated Figgy. I think they both dominated their opponents, but I thought Figgy was more competitive than Sandhagen. Sandhagen really didn't do anything, got 50-45. I think Figgy might have even gotten a round. Maybe the 5th round, I can't remember off the top of my head. I was watching it early in the morning. I was tired as hell. But to say that is just completely delusional. Yeah, Yan dominated Figgy more than Umar dominated Sandhagen. Sandhagen got shut down on the feet and in the grappling. Shut down, systematically shut down. By the way, Aljamain got his title shot by beating Corey Sandhagen. Yeah, he got his title shot and then, baited a DQ to get a title. He should never even had that title wrapped around his waist. But let's carry on.
And Yan beat Sandhagen. So it's like, I don't know. Like, I know you
By the way, nonsense. That was years ago. It literally doesn't matter. He's lost since then.
can't do MMA math, but in terms of notoriety, then technically Yan should jump both of them to be #1 as a contender. That's the way that, if you're using logic, that's the way that it should
If you
go.
stack up like the
So if you're using, this guy's dumb as a box of rocks. If you're using logic, let's use Petr Yan's win against Corey Sandhagen from October 30th, 2021 to justify a title shot in 2025. Because, we got 1 month left in 2024. So we're going to justify a title shot in 2025 based off a win in 2021 instead of justifying an 18-0 guy who just dominated Corey Sandhagen in August of 2024. Let's justify him getting a title shot from a win in 2024 against the same guy. Arguably much improved as well. But yeah, continue on, Aljo. Making no sense.
recent wins. And
Yeah.
yeah.
But if we're talking strictly just what have you done lately, I guess Umar does have the highest credible win. So I don't want people thinking like I just don't like the Dagestani guys.
Yeah.
Yo, I got Dagestani friends.
This is the equivalent of, hey man, so what if I say the N-word? I'm not racist. I got black friends. And then it's hilarious that he says, look, I'm not a doggy hater. I got Dagestani friends. And then he goes on to spew. He's just regurgitating anti-Dagestani talking points, which most of the time they aren't even true. He goes on to do that right after this. Listen.
I fuck with them. But at the end of the day, I just think I'm just over the phase of because you are popular in this region of the world or this, you get title shots off of it's just weird because it takes away from the sport aspect.
So again, the narrative of Dagestani privilege. I could go off on a tangent for about 30 minutes about Dagestani privilege. It's simply not true. It's just simply not true. It happens all the time. The same things happen all the time to non-Dagestani fighters. And a lot of the time they end up fighting for the title and they don't have a lot of ranked wins on their resume is because they're dominating guys and then nobody in the ranks actually want to fight them. So then they finally get a big jump up. They then dominate a top-ranked guy and they're like, okay, well, might as well give him a title shot. Just like Islam. Islam didn't deserve a shot against Charles Oliveira because Beneil Dariush pulled out of their fight. Even though he had been dominating guys who were like fringe top 15 for the last couple years. Had one loss in the UFC. It just makes no sense. Yeah, man, the Dagestani privilege, you're getting title shots and this and that. Yeah, was Ikram Aliskerov versus Robert Whittaker Dagestani privilege? Stepping on a week's notice, double weight cut and getting brutally chinned and called a fraud from there on out, not even in the rankings? Yeah, that was really Dagestani privilege. I'm so sick and tired. What was Steve Ursa getting a title shot? Australian privilege? It's just, where's the, privilege for the Japanese Kai Asakura? Is that Japanese privilege? I'm so tired of hearing the dumb narrative when it happens all the time to non-Dagestani fighters. But again, Aljo doesn't hate doggies. He's just going to regurgitate anti-Dagestani narrative talking points that literally can easily be debunked and just simply aren't true.
No other sport you could do this except for MMA.
Yeah,
it's the only sport, and boxing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Umar fights like once every 18 months or something.
And then this guy just shows his lack of MMA knowledge, his lack of knowledge of the sport, with another anti-Dagestani talking point. This guy barely fights. 18 months. He fights every 18 months. Let's. You know what? We can look up a resume. We can fact check that. Oh, let's see. He fought August of 2024, and then he fought March of 2024. That's definitely not 18 months. That's in the same calendar year. Matter of fact, that's 5 months apart. By the way, he fought an unranked dangerous killer in Bekzak Almahan, who will probably eventually be ranked because he couldn't find anyone else to accept the fight. Okay, let's look before that. Oh, he was scheduled in August of 2023, but he hurt his shoulder. He fought in January 2023. He fought in June of 2022. He had a fight scheduled in March of 2022. I don't know why that got canceled. Fought in March of 2022. He had two fights scheduled in March. I don't know why this got shifted around, but he fought twice in 2022. He had 2 scheduled fights in 2023, but only one ultimately happened, and then 2 in 2024. So it makes absolutely no sense. And even if you go down here, because I think Aljo says something like, even when he was younger, he wasn't active. You go down here, in 2019, he had 1, 2, 3, 4 fights in 2019 outside the UFC. So, again, they say it about the Dagestani fighters. Yeah, they're inactive, man. And then a little bit, he even goes off like, yeah, I mean, he's getting paid by a oil prince in Saudi Arabia. I don't know if he says that specifically, but he's basically saying Umar Nurmagomedov's getting paid by princes over in the Middle East somehow because he's Muslim. Like, what? What? And I haven't even mentioned the best part. Don't worry, we're going to check it out. He's like, man, these guys don't want to fight during Ramadan. I mean, this is America. For totally forgetting that the UFC is a worldwide company that goes to all different countries. And also Ramadan is a 1-month period. It's not an 11-month period. It's not a 6-month period. It's a 1-month period. But let's carry on.
Like, he barely fights. And
I mean, he fought once this year, right?
He gets jumped.
Yeah.
He gets to, like, jump.
Yeah, he fought once this year, right? No, he fought twice. I mean, imagine being this uneducated. No wonder they only got 4,000 views. This is a former UFC champion with 87,000 subs. Has 4,000 views on this video. It's been out for 5 days. It's because the lack of accurate information. I mean, this just goes on in the MMA community. And luckily, nobody even listens to this guy. There's people that regurgitate this type of stuff who actually have followings. And then people regurgitate it as if it's true. Just like Merab turning down Aljamain Sterling, even though that never happened. He was never offered a title fight against Aljamain Sterling. But that was regurgitated. And now Aljo's trying to use that same thing. It's just so dumb.
Jump the line.
Or twice. He fought twice this year.
And there are...
Luckily, this guy corrects him. But this guy's saying, yeah, he jumped the line. No, he fought Corey Sandhagen. He earned his spot in line.
Argument is...
Wait, but who did he fight before Sandhagen?
The Kazakh
the Kazakh kid who dropped him.
Okay, and then...
By the way, he fought Bekzak Almahan, who was unranked, making his UFC debut because nobody else would accept the fight.
Before that, it was like the guy he knocked out. I forget his name.
Raoni Barcelo.
Yeah, yes. So,
to
like,
be fair, he got injured, which it happens. So I get that
Yeah, Aljo's gotten injured and pulled out of plenty of fights.
aspect of it, but at the same time, yeah, even when he was younger, his frequency of fighting is very low.
4 times in 2019. I'm not going to go back to it. 4 times in 2019.
His argument is that people don't want to fight him, right?
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. But
So there you have it. Next clip. Aljo basically exposes that they want Petr Yan because he's an easier fight. He's asked, do you think Merab Yan would be a different outcome in a rematch? And Aljo starts to act like, no, Merab would dominate him. I'm being a bit exaggeratory. But then he realizes, wait, that's dumb. I don't mean to say that. Oh, no. And then he goes like, man, Yan's super flexible. And I mean, his grappling looks like it's improved. Because he knows it looks dumb to say, oh, Merab's easily going to beat him again. But yet we're campaigning. They want to campaign for, in their opinion, the easier of the 2 fights. Umar Nurmagomedov for Petr Yan. They want to campaign for Petr Yan because they believe that's the easier of the 2 fights because Merab's already beat him and dominated him. Aljo's already beat him, even though it's questionable. And they want to act like they're campaigning for the tougher matchup on top of it. When, I mean, if anybody's falling for that, it's just straight up delusion. But let's listen.
So the thing is now, if we see a rematch with Yan and Merab, do we see a different outcome?
Now watch Aljo here. He starts to act like Merab will dominate him. Again, that's a little bit exaggeratory. But then you'll see him pause and kind of look up and realize, oh, wait, I got to hype Yan up. Yan's got cat-like reflexes and stuff like that.
Maybe he stops more takedowns, but even so...
he stopped so many takedowns.
Yeah. But that's the thing, right? So he stopped so many takedowns, but he still got outstruck on the feet. So
yes.
I just don't know what he does differently other than landing a shot that can really change the fight.
So basically, Yan has a puncher's chance, but you're campaigning for it as if it's a more difficult fight than Umar Nurmagomedov. But watch, he catches himself here in a second.
And that, I feel like, I don't know. I feel like...
Here's where he caught himself. He's like, oh, never mind. Let me hype up Yan.
And he looked really good. So I think his chances now, just because he looked like he evolved, like he looks super flexible in the grappling where he's flipping all over the place
He's
like a cat. Right?
Yeah.
He looked like a cat, dog. The same thing I was thinking about Dennis. I was like, oh.
So there you go. All of a sudden it goes, yeah, Merab, Yan was able to stuff some of the takedowns, but he got outstruck too, and I don't see what he does differently. To all of a sudden, well, he's evolved and he's made these differences, and look at his reflexes because he realized how dumb it looked. He caught himself, which I'm surprised because he's dumb as a box of rocks just from listening to this podcast. This podcast was horrible. I can't believe I suffered through this. Next clip we're going to look at. He says the dumbest thing ever here. He says that the fans are 50-50 on which fight they want to see. 50-50. Do they want to see Merab versus Petr Yan too? Or do they want to see Merab versus Umar Nurmagomedov? Let me know down in the comments, which bantamweight title fight would you prefer next? Merab versus Yan or Merab versus Umar? I'm genuinely curious if it's 50-50. I don't believe that it is. And on top of that, he starts kind of talking shit about basically Muslims recognizing Ramadan and not fighting for a 1-month period, which basically unveils Aljamain Sterling and Merab's team's master plan for Merab ducking Umar Nurmagomedov.
Into the 5th round, you know, like he looked on point. So I don't know, bro. I feel like now the fans are, you know, 50-50 almost between who gets it next, Yan or
So this guy, Dennis Bazooka, said that. I don't know if I said Aljo said that. But then listen, just listen.
Umar.
Yeah.
Wait, but what? Umar can't fight with Ramadan, right?
In March
No,
it starts.
So Umar can fight during Ramadan. Umar chooses not to fight during Ramadan because of his religious beliefs, right? But the religious belief does not prevent him from fighting.
So it's just like he won't fight during.
He won't fight during the Ramadan because it's not an optimal time to fight. And
So let me break this down for you, what Aljo's saying right now. Well, he can fight, but he chooses not to fight, which already tells me, and I mean, I've already gone through these 2 tweets from Merab, and there's been other posts. Aljo and Merab are attempting to stall off this fight. Mainly Merab and his team want to stall off this fight and say, we want to fight in March. We want to fight in March. We want to fight in March because they want to fight in the 1 month out of the year that Merab would have an advantage and or Umar would potentially not fight then. Because then they could say, look, I tried to make it happen. That's why Merab didn't fight. Merab was talking about fighting in late 2024. Now, granted, those fights weren't going to happen, and he was like, oh, well, I'll take an easier rematch against Sean O'Malley. I don't need to train as much because it's an easier matchup. But they're planning to try to ask for this fight, and I'm sure they already have asked for it during Ramadan, and that way Umar doesn't take the fight. That's what they're hoping on, which is crazy because they act like Ramadan's a 6-month period. It's a 1-month period. And it's going to be funny if the UFC says, okay, you can just wait. We'll have you fight him in April or May. That'll be hilarious because then all of a sudden, they'll be like, no, we want to fight sooner. All right, well, you want to fight in February? Nope. You want to fight in January? Nope. It's just hilarious. And he goes in more. He goes in more here.
and train because they have to fast all day.
Right.
And then they could eat once sun goes down, and then they could break their fast and they could eat as much as they want. So most of the guys that I know, just from conversations, they don't do nothing during the day, and then they do all their training at night. So I go, well,
So
if
you can do it.
you could do it. If you really want to do it, then schedule it for April. If that's really like you're giving yourself still an opportunity, at least you have a month to still prepare, and you're still getting proper training. Just probably, I don't know. Like, if you want to make it happen, you can make it happen.
Yeah.
If you really wanted it that
So
way.
why do they get to have like the most optimal camps set up? Like everything gets built around their schedule.
Because what a fucking idiot. This guy's an idiot. Why do they get to have the most optimal schedule? What? Hey, I prefer not to fight in March. Usually late March. I'm open to fighting from late April to any other time. Just don't want to fight in, late March, or I don't know exactly the dates for Ramadan this year. But don't want to fight in late March or early April. That's it. But yeah, man, these guys get everything built around them. What a fucking idiot. I mean, total idiot. I mean, it's dead behind these eyes right here. I can just see it's dead behind these eyes. That's for sure.
But
No short notice fights.
Merab has to turn around by January.
No short notice fights. This dude's been bitching about taking a short notice fight against Sean O'Malley for months. Been bitching about it and crying about it. Wait, that's been over a year now? That's been over a year. That was UFC 292, if I'm not mistaken. He's been bitching about taking a short notice fight against Sean O'Malley. But again, a Dagestani narrative. Yeah, these guys don't take short notice fights. First off, they have. Second off, it's not smart to take short notice fights, but you're an idiot and you lost your title and then you cried about it for literally over a year. You're still crying about it.
So Umar can fight.
Well, they wanted December first. They wanted December first.
So why?
And meanwhile, Merab was putting his foot in his mouth and begging for a rematch against Sean O'Malley in November or December. So they wanted December at first, and you're laughing about it, but it wasn't that unbelievable because Merab's asking on social media for fights in November, December against O'Malley.
They said December, January.
The fuck do they get that type of treatment?
I don't know. It's
What treatment is this guy? Again, this guy's an idiot. An idiot.
Make sure your chain not hitting. Yeah.
I mean, look, on their end, it's a smart business move.
Of course.
You know, they're looking out for themselves.
Which we should do.
But,
Yeah,
but the,
Yeah, what you should do. You should look out for yourself. Otherwise, you might end up in a short notice fight and lose your title, and you're never going to ever get another shot at a title because you got gaslit by the UFC. Who could that be? Aljo's one of the dumbest fighters on the roster. Like, he's literally complaining that other fighters aren't doing the same things that he did and now are complaining about that he regrets.
UFC never says anything when they're like, no, we got Ramadan.
I mean,
But
we
when
don't know
you're
that.
like, you're like, nah, my knees.
What does this guy know what the UFC and Dagestani fighters and Muslim fighters' conversations are behind the scenes? The UFC never ever says anything when fighters say, no, I have Ramadan. A 1 month period out of the year, 2 months, you count April, 2 month period. And some guys fight during Ramadan. Yeah, the UFC never says anything when these guys blah, 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 blah. And then meanwhile, they even in this, I don't think I have any clips of this, but they even say, well, Bilal fought Gilbert Burns during Ramadan. Yeah, he came off the couch and fought Gilbert Burns during Ramadan, if I'm not mistaken. And that's what they talk about. Makes no sense. This dude's just making up shit. Imagine if anybody actually watched this worthless podcast. They'd be like, man, these Muslims are getting so much privilege. And literally, if you ask this guy, well, how do you know, what conversations have the UFC had with these Dagestani fighters, these Muslim fighters, these Caucasus region fighters that you know about, where they never complained or tried to get them to fight during Ramadan? They offered Hamzat a Leon Edwards fight at UFC 300 during Ramadan. Okay? He said, no, it is what it is. They moved on. They gave somebody else the title shot, didn't they? So it just makes no sense. And it all comes back to Aljo. But they say, oh, Aljo this, they made you fight with an injury and blah, 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 blah.
Fucking torn, or my biceps torn. Nope, turn around, do it. It's a big opportunity.
Yeah, it was partial, but it is what it. Yeah,
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, nah.
like that's
I wonder if Aljo realized how dumb they look right now. Because essentially this guy is saying what Aljo has been crying about for years, or a year, that other fighters aren't doing what Aljo wasn't happy to do, and that he now regrets doing. He's openly said he regrets. I wonder if he realized how dumb he looks right here. I mean, this guy's an idiot, though.
I know
way
some
less
people gonna say your
optimal.
bicep
Yeah.
wasn't torn.
Anyway, we're going to jump ahead. This next part makes absolutely no sense. They say Umar doesn't fight because he's getting paid by some oil tycoon, or I don't remember the exact words they use. Listen to this.
For Leon after
Yeah.
that. Yeah, so if again, and that wasn't even for gold. So it's like if you want the opportunity, you could take the opportunity. Just
Respect to
really,
Bilal for that. That's really believing in yourself.
That's the
So they're talking about Bilal fighting during Ramadan.
dog right there.
Yeah, that's real G shit.
You know what it could be too though. Like, I feel like this is just like maybe a crazy take, but like the Dagestani guys, like they're so paid already. Like they don't have to fight when they don't want to. But like Bilal lives in America. I don't know if he's getting like the sheiks raining money on him and stuff. Like
That's true.
So basically, if you live in the Caucasus region, if you're Muslim and don't live in America, you're getting paid by the sheiks. I mean, that's just categorically false. Okay? In some cases, that may be true. But just totally made up. I don't even know where this guy gets his information.
True.
he might have like he might have like, and I'm sure he didn't have to take that fight to like get by, but like he's obviously gonna be in a hungrier position than if like Umar, who's like just a contender right now, he's probably making millions from like princes and.
I mean,
What? What is this? He's probably making millions from princes. What is this guy doing in his spare time?
And then if like Umar, who's like just a contender right now, he's probably making millions from like princes and
I mean,
you know.
Probably making millions from princes. Guys, you can't fix stupid. This dude you know what this is? This is the definition of everyone shouldn't have a podcast. Because people just say the dumbest stuff. Like, there's no, like, if you ask them, well, what exactly are you talking about there? Can you kind of explain that to me? Where are you getting this information from? Like, at least if you said, like, Hamzat Chimaev, you could say, oh, well, his relationship with Ramzan Kadyrov, I can't remember how to pronounce it right off the top of my head. You could maybe say, okay, that makes sense. You could be getting that from there. But, like, Umar is getting paid by some sheik. He would, if you asked him, if you pressed him on it at all, he would have no answer for it at all. Absolutely no answer. Next clip we're going to show you is where basically Aljamain Sterling says, for lack of a better expression, he's like, fuck Ramadan. This is America. This is America. That's essentially what he says here. Even though UFC is a worldwide company that goes to every country, basically, and everyone of different faiths and religions and nationalities compete in the UFC. But essentially, he's saying if you come into the UFC, it's an American-based company, so now you're not allowed to have your own religion? Makes no sense. Listen to this dumb shit.
Gonna work on this holiday, so maybe it's like that type of thing. But I don't get that vibe. That's
bro. It's a month long, bro. That shit is a long time.
It's a month long. So all you have to do is not fight during that month. There you go. You've answered your own question. But their master plan is, and I've already said this, they're saying, oh, look, we don't want to fight Umar, so let's ask for him during March. Let's ask for him during Ramadan. Maybe he won't take it. They're praying that Umar doesn't take the fight during Ramadan. They're praying that the UFC says, okay, we'll do Petr Yan in the meantime.
No way the whole Muslim economy shuts down for 40 days.
No, it doesn't shut down.
Like, there's no way they're not working, is what I'm saying.
No, I think they still do, but I think everyone comes together if you're like in that region of the world and they have like their understanding. But this is America. This is America.
This is America. What a dumb take. So basically, you don't want to fight him. Merab doesn't want to fight him, is really what I mean. Merab doesn't want to fight him. So you want to campaign for the only 1 month period that he does not want to fight in. Because you don't want to fight him because you're scared of losing. Okay.
So, you got to do what else we got to do. You know what I mean? So, you want to be Muslim and you want to come fight in America, do what the Americans do.
Nothing would give me more joy than they force Merab to go defend his title in Saudi Arabia in February. I hope that's the main event of the Saudi event. Oh, please. Breaking news. I'm saying it. I'm calling it right now. The UFC doesn't like Merab. Aljo and Merab keep putting their foots in their mouth over and over and over again. Merab versus Umar. Main event, UFC Saudi in February, fight night card. That's what's going to end up happening. This is America. You want to be Muslim and you want to fight in America? You can't be Muslim. You can't celebrate Ramadan for 1 month. Because that's the month I'm going to try to fight you because I don't want to fight you. Guarantee if Ramadan was February, Merab would be calling for it for February. If Ramadan was December, Merab would be saying he wanted to fight in December. He just wants an easier matchup. But let's carry on.
So then Umar, that's the only thing is because it's Ramadan.
I'm gonna get hated on for this. You're a Muslim hater. No, I'm not. No, I feel like, it's just the truth, bro. It really is the truth. Like, why do we have to play favoritism?
I feel like you've considered converting to.
It's not playing favoritism. For a fighter to say, "Hey, there's a 1 month period out of the year that I'd prefer not to fight in," that's not favoritism. And sometimes they do fight. Sometimes they do get skipped over for opportunities. Because the fight presents itself in that month of the year, they turn it down. AKA, Khamzat Chimaev offered a welterweight title shot. Got skipped over because it was Ramadan. He said, I'd rather not fight during Ramadan. So to act like there's some type of crazy favoritism is just unbelievable. Couple more clips we're going to check out. There was a lot in this podcast. I mean, there was a lot of stupidity. It's Aljamain Sterling, so of course you can expect a lot of stupidity here. But this next clip we're going to take a look at, and of course YouTube's messing with me right now. Basically say Umar can fight someone else. And also they admit that Merab doesn't want to fight him because basically he's jealous that Umar's getting a title shot and had to put in less work than Merab. Which, why are you worried about what another fighter has done? You should want the biggest fights. You should want to prove you're the best. You should want to fight the next best contender. Maybe like a Bilal Muhammad who won at Shavkat. Maybe like a Dricus du Plessis who wants Khamzat Chimaev. But instead they're campaigning for what they perceive as the easier fight.
Those guys got wins over him with split decision.
Yeah, my thing is, like, what's wrong with Merab fighting Petr Yan, and then when Umar's ready and at his convenience, now he can fight Umar, or Umar could fight somebody else.
I think people
don't see
think
what the point is.
Some people,
because Umar's the #1 contender and it's the most compelling fight right now in the bantamweight division. I answered your question.
I actually think he's afraid, which is actually hilarious.
Yeah, I don't understand that, bro.
I think Merab, for me, from what I understand, when we talk, Merab is just standing on business like, bro, you haven't done anything. I'm supposed to be busting my ass over here. I'm from the same area as you, in relation to the area, the Caucasus Mountains, and I had to come here and bust my ass just to get a title shot, and you're going to get one off of one win.
Yeah, probably because of the stuff you said publicly about your teammate, Aljamain Sterling, who was the champion. As soon as the title shot was available, you got skipped over one time. So it's crazy. It's like, It's like that meme of you stick a stick in your own bicycle wheel and then you fall over and you blame someone else. Like, imagine worrying about, like, I busted my ass to get here and he's going to get it. It's like, it's like having a job and complaining about a coworker's pay. Oh, they're getting paid too much. Keep in mind, you're both being underpaid, but you're complaining that a coworker is getting overpaid. That's essentially what he's doing here. Yeah, I busted my ass to be here. Let's carry on because there's more stupidity. We got more to get to.
And I had to fight all these contenders. That's crazy.
Yeah, like, bro, the hard work, even, like, becoming, like, the superstar Merab's become, like, all of the stuff he does to, like, do more for the sport, like, it's so much effort. And then, like, Umar just gets to, like, be jumped. He just, like, jump.
I mean, this is crazy. This dude's got Merab's dick so far down his throat. And I've been an avid Merab defender over the years. You can check the channel. This guy's got Merab's dick and balls down his throat right now. And it's crazy. Imagine being that biased.
The line.
Yeah.
Like, I would be tight.
Yeah, it's a weird one. They're going to say we're being biased, but nah, I think
They are being biased.
I would be saying this, even with Bilal. Like, Bilal's not my...
Okay, and then he goes on to something else. 2 more clips we're going to check out. Next clip. Basically, they say both of them are tough fights, but Umar hasn't earned it yet, which is so delusional. How does he not earned it yet? He beat Corey Sandhagen and dominated him.
So it is what it is, but we'll see, man. It'll be interesting to see who gets the next shot. If it's Umar, I don't care. We're gonna be prepared for him regardless. Merab already knows it's a tough fight. He knows the Yan fight is a tough fight. These fights are all tough fights.
Right.
Again, I don't think Merab is afraid. Based on what it is.
I don't think Merab is afraid. That's crazy. They're training partners and friends to say, I don't think he's afraid. You don't think? What do you mean you don't think? You should know. You should know. If you ask one of my friends right now, you say, hey, you think Joey is scared of Tom Aspinall? They'd be like, fuck no, he's not afraid. And I'd get my ass whooped. I'm not saying I wouldn't. But this is a training partner and friend, a good friend. He's like, yeah, I don't think he's afraid. What? What? I don't think he's afraid. I couldn't believe when he said that. It's honestly convincing me that he is afraid, actually.
It just comes down to the guy didn't earn it like he did or most of us did. And that's the bottom line. It comes down to nothing else. But whatever.
Why do you care? It doesn't make any sense. You were okay with O'Malley getting it when he didn't earn it. Almost the exact same situation. He jumped up the ranks, beat Petr Yan, even though it was a robbery. And you were okay with that fight because you thought it was a money fight. You got gaslit by the UFC into believing it was a money fight. You were fine with that then. But now Umar, who's a stylistic nightmare matchup for Merab, one of the few in the division, now all of a sudden you're like, oh, let's fight Petr Yan. Petr Yan, who we already beat less than 2 years ago. Makes no sense. And last clip we're going to look at, he says the same, one of them says the same thing again. Well, I don't think he's scared. I don't think he's scared.
Hopefully.
It was a good night.
Hopefully.
Come on, your ass.
Yeah, but I don't think Merab's scared of Umar.
Like, they're questioning it. If you ask 5 of my friends right now, you think Joey's scared of Francis Ngannou? They'd be like, no. They wouldn't say, I don't think he is. They'd be like, no, and I'm not a professional fighter, okay? And they're like, yeah, I don't think he's, I don't think he's scared. I'd be like, if Merab got accused of something that Conor McGregor was recently found civilly liable of, I'm not even going to use it in this video. I've already got enough demonetized videos recently. You think he's guilty of doing this? You think Merab's guilty of doing this in a hypothetical situation? And they'd be like, I don't think so, but I'm not sure. It wouldn't be very reassuring of your friends to be saying that. And there's a little bit more here.
Absolutely not, bro. Come on. I don't think any fighter is really
like,
scared of another fighter.
Corey Sandhagen is a fucking beast, but he's a great matchup for Umar stylistically.
Yeah.
Like, that's a great way. That's a great guy for Umar to show off what he does.
And
again, I mean, diminishing what Umar has done. This is so embarrassing.
Sandhagen taking that fight with Umar did the same thing we were just talking about. It messed up the contenders. Like, if Umar were to have done it in chronological order like most people do, chip away, get to the top, and keep the contenders so that you have room, like viable options for the champion to fight, then we're not even in this position right now. But because he killed off the number 2 who was just on a win streak, it's just like, well, there goes another one. We don't have someone we could just throw into a title shot right now.
What a dumb take. Yeah, well, Corey taking that fight kind of ruined the contenders of the division. No, Corey taking that fight is because he's a badass. He believes he can beat anyone. So why not fight him? Oh, he's got a big name. He's undefeated. Let me take his L. Why wouldn't you want to take that fight? But Merab doesn't want to take that fight. His whole team doesn't want him to take that fight because for whatever reason, it seems like they're worried they may lose to Umar where they think they have a much better chance to beat Petr Yan. It's completely and utterly humiliating, man. And honestly, they convinced me that Merab is actually scared of him. And I'm not, well, I've been defending Merab and saying, man, he's not ducking him. He's going to ultimately fight him. And I think he probably will ultimately fight him. I think the UFC is going to force Merab's hand into fighting Umar. But still, man, this is just a bad look. And it's going to be even worse if he loses. If he fights Umar and then gets dominated somehow, which wouldn't be out of the realm of possibility. Umar is very good. Imagine how bad this is going to look. Imagine what a stain it's going to be. And then Umar's going to say, I'm never fighting Merab again. Dude tried to duck me like his life depended on it. It's just a humiliating just narrative. The anti-Dagestani narratives from Aljo. I mean, let's not forget, he said Movsar Evloev was on steroids with literally no evidence. I broke that down in another video. I'll actually link that down in the description if you care to check it out. Last thing I want to check out is 2 tweets from Umar Nurmagomedov. He exposes Aljamain Sterling right here. When you weren't afraid to speak the truth, and tags Aljamain Sterling and tags a tweet from August when Umar beat Corey Sandhagen. High-level fight, man. Great showing for the bantamweights and how skilled it is. Umar earns his title shot, in my opinion. Well, it seems like you changed your tune. He didn't deserve it now. He beat Corey Sandhagen. Wasn't that great of a performance. It was an easy matchup. He's getting Dagestani privilege, and he's getting paid by Muslim princes somehow. Makes absolutely no sense. And also, Umar posted, I had a small arm fracture and couldn't perform in January. My arm is fine now, and I'm open to any offers. Anyone, anywhere. I think this is a reference to, there was some talk of him versus Song Yadong December, January. That didn't come to fruition because Umar just wants to stay active. He doesn't care if Merab wants to duck him. He just wants to keep fighting. He'll fight Merab anyway at some point. But that's what you're getting from Umar. Anyone, anywhere, and exposing Aljamain Sterling's hypocrisy, which makes it look even worse after what we just looked at in this podcast. So, guys, that's it. Aljamain Sterling continues to put his foot in his mouth, continues to push anti-Dagestani narratives, just so Merab can attempt to duck Umar Nurmagomedov, which most likely isn't going to happen. He's not going to be able to duck him unless he gets his wish, and it happens in March. And so it just makes it look even worse. And then if he does lose, it makes it look like he was actually really afraid to lose to him. So these guys just keep making themselves look bad. And what they're trying to do is put this out there, and they're hoping the fans latch onto it and beg for a Merab versus Yan 2 fight, which they're not going to beg for. Okay, Yan already lost to Merab once. Not that long ago. The fans want to see Merab versus Umar. It's not 50-50. But like the video, subscribe to the channel, and thank you so much for watching.